Yo, welcome back Hatt Clan Fam. This is Justin Hatt coming with you with a brand new video coming from a lesson series that I was teaching some private students this week, all about improvising and outlining the changes in any type of musical context. I'm using blues as a roadmap here because I think that's really important to start out with. If you can improvise over the blues, and you can improvise over the blues well, you can learn to improvise over any specific set of chord changes, even if they're non-diatonic, meaning that the chords don't belong in the original home key. So let's zoom in on a close-up. We'll go through this together. Alright, Hatt Clan fam, so check out this video here that we're working with. The intro that I played there was really not all that complex in nature. It was quite simple, honestly. I was just doing little simple licks and ideas based around my chord shapes in this 5th fret position. Now this is kind of the home row that I'm basing around the A minor pentatonic. So if you don't know that scale, I would definitely highly recommend learning that. That's 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 8. Then with the blues note, 5, 8, 5, 6, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 8, 5, 8, 5, 8. The blues note is also here. So you could go 4, 5, 8. So anyway, basically what I'm doing here when I'm working on outlining my changes is I think about all of my chords. I don't think about scales, right? When I'm improvising, I'm not just thinking, like, yeah, that sounds great and everything, but it doesn't really tell me anything in terms of outlining the actual changes. So how I outline the changes is I break down these big chord shapes. In the case of this is an A7 chord, into these smaller triads. Same thing here, the D7. And then same thing with the E7. All these different variations of these chords here are all based around cage-shaped positions. I use the scale as a framework to connect the other notes, right? Because if I just did simply everything as an arpeggio, added the 9th there, and then I go to the 4 chord, sounds a little bit boring. So when I start to add in the other notes around it, then I get things like this. Now I've just transitioned to the D7 chord. I'm visualizing the chord shape. And I'm playing right out of the chord. I'm not thinking about these scale patterns, right? And especially because I play a lot of jazz music and I play in a lot of group situations and band settings where, you know, maybe there's only one chord comping instrument or something like that, and I have to outline the changes even though I'm not physically playing the chord. And the way that I do that is I think about the chord shapes themselves and I play notes right out of them. Where does that come from? Like, that's a great lick that works over top of the A chord. Sliding into the 5th fret on the B, major 3rd, root, flat 7 root. Like, listen to that. Okay, that time I added in the 5th. So I mean, listen. That time I added in the major 3rd. You could put it here, or you could even slide into it from the minor 3rd. So you got something like this. Okay, then the D7. That major 3rd to root is such a great resolution. Works really well. So that's out of the the D7 chord shape. And if I just take those three notes, which in this case happens to be the fifth, the third, or sorry, the flat 7 and the third. If I just improvise with just those notes, listen to this. Like, that sounds really fantastic over top of that. Okay, and then now over top of the 5 chord, in this case here, okay, I have that chord, which works really, really well. So if I put that all in context, I'm just going to use these little triad shapes. So your triads in guitar are absolutely everything. It's the most important thing when you're learning how to improvise and learn how to improvise well. If you consider thinking about just playing in a scale all the time, you're not necessarily going to be able to achieve fluency or fluidity in your phrasing, especially if you have chord progressions that have to be considered non-diatonic. For example, if I take a G chord and I go to a B flat chord, like that's a pretty kind of a common thing, going to the flat 3 chord. But if I'm trying to think, okay, this is in G major and I only use G major to improvise, and then as soon as I get to that B flat chord, you're gonna have a crunch as soon as you hear that B natural over that B flat. So what do I have to do? Well, you have to envision the chord, excuse me, in another position, and therefore you have to outline those changes by seeing the chord shape and using the notes that belong to that chord. So I could have something like this. You know, so in terms of the blues, same exact idea, right? As I'm moving through here, I can outline these changes even though there's no accompaniment in the background. And that to me as a player is really, really freeing, because I don't need to have backing tracks, right? I can improvise and suggest chord harmony with just the lines themselves. And Bach used to do this all the time. Think about the cello suites. Right? Okay, so that's a great line. What is that? Okay, that's a D chord going to the 5 chord. Okay, but he's not playing like, you know, he's taking notes out of it. It's the same thing that we have to do in our blues context. So here, let's listen to a take on the 12-bar blues, just one chorus, and listen to just the changes. Here comes the 4. Back to the 1. 5, 4, 1. So really, at the core of it is thinking about your cage system, thinking about breaking these chords down into smaller shapes and literally taking notes right out of the chord. Don't think about just scales. You have to envision the chord. So then when you're playing through this, you can outline the changes in a fashion that actually works. That was the video. I hope you really dug it. Please let me know if you'd like to see more content like this, and if you consider this a valuable lesson and you got something out of it, please consider checking out the links down below and checking out my Ko-Fi or buying me a coffee. And whatever the value is that you came to this video, you can consider dropping it as in terms of a donation. I'm a working class musician, so this is my main source of income, and I appreciate all the support. We'll see you soon.